With most of the books that I've done recently, I've ended up doing quite a bit of research for them. With the Missing series, since it's time travel and going back into various eras in history, I have tried as much as possible to learn everything I can about that era so that I can reflect the facts accurately. And I've also done scientific research into what scientists think would make time travel possible. And that kind of ties my brain in knots, but it's fun to think about and imagine how all of that would work. With the historical research, because one of my majors in college was history, I kind of feel like it's a continuation of that. And even when I've started out researching a historical era that I thought, okay, this is not a period of time that I'm particularly interested in, it's just a period that I think is kind of boring. As soon as I start doing the research, I realized that it's a fascinating time in history. I did that very much with the second book in the Missing series, which is set in the Middle Ages. And I always thought of the Middle Ages as dull, and they were not. I mean, there were so many exciting things going on and so many power struggles and really dramatic events that affected people's lives. And at one point in that book, I have one of the characters compare the struggle for the crown of the English throne to the struggles that kids go through in middle school where somebody wants to be popular, and it's really similar. Human nature hasn't changed that much. One of the things that I've found disturbing when I've gotten very deeply into a topic and know that I know a lot about it after having read a lot of books on that topic is that then when I go to the internet just to do a fact check or just for something that I need very quickly, and I discover how much of the information that is available online immediately is incorrect. And so I have gotten to the point that I'm very leery that I kind of use the internet in the beginning to give me a feel for things, and then I dive very deeply into usually books or primary resources, and then at the end I'm kind of going back to do quick checks of things online. And I'm sure kids hear this all the time, that they need to be cautious about looking at who the source is for the information. That if it's a second grade class in Alabama writing about pretending to be experts on the explorers, that's maybe not the best source of information. But if it's a museum or a library or something along those lines, I feel like I can trust the information. And the internet is a great resource, and there are so many details that you can find. I was really happy when I was working on my book, Uprising, which is set in the early 1900s and has a huge historical component, that online I was able to find a lot of original newspaper clippings about events that I was narrating. And that's not something, I could have done that going to a library and doing lots of digging and all of that, but the fact that I could sit in my own home and have access to all of that was wonderful. I think because my background is in journalism, I'm much more likely to call people up to ask research questions when I'm trying to find something out for one of my books. And sometimes this can be a little bit embarrassing when I'm trying to explain that. One of my early books is a book called Don't You Dare Read This, Mrs. Dunfree, which is about a girl who's in a bad home life situation and her parents end up abandoning her and her younger brother. And I wanted to make sure that I was reflecting that accurately in the book, how it would realistically be dealt with. So I called a social worker, child welfare employee, and was explaining the situation in the book, and I said, probably after every sentence I'd be like, really, this is fiction. I'm not planning to abandon my children. I just want to know how it would be dealt with. And by the end of the phone call, the guy's just like, okay, this woman's totally nuts. I cannot deal with her. But he gave me the answers, and he was very helpful, and that nobody showed up at my door trying to see if I'd abandoned my children, so it was all okay.